And welcome back to the Big Lead Podcast. And of course, Monday is the national championship between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And here to preview it is Cleveland.com's and the host of Buckeye Talk, Stephen Meads. He joins today. Stephen is in Atlanta covering the game. He just got there today. Stephen, what is the vibe like around this Ohio State program that loses to Michigan? Then they go on a run, man. They go on a generation run. You beat Tennessee. You beat the number one Oregon Ducks. You beat Texas in Texas. What's the vibe like, though, right now surrounding this Ohio State team?
Yeah, Ryan Day's got a Michigan problem. The good thing is Michigan's not in the college football playoff. So that's a problem for literally everybody else. That's what's happened here is I think they've used that loss to Michigan to maybe fuel what is now the best team in the country. And they've looked the way that maybe we thought they would look when they put this team together. We were wondering for 12 games, what's going on here? Why are you playing so slow? Why can't you score 40? Why is your defense giving up 30 points to Oregon? That's essentially what's happened here is I don't want to say they flipped the switch, but I think the Michigan game was the proper kick in the butt that, ironically enough, is probably going to be the reason why this team ends up winning a national title.
Yeah, what's crazy to me, you look at it, if you win that game against Michigan, then you play Oregon in the Big Ten title game. If you win that, you get the bye. So then you're in the same little bucket as Oregon was with the rust. It almost feels like it was take the red pill or the blue pill, right? And then the blue pill might have been you lose to Michigan, but you win a national championship. And Steven, this is a national show. So it's for people that don't know, I just saw a poll where there's Ohio State fans that some said they'd rather beat Michigan than win a national championship. Do you still think they feel that way today?
Probably because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So it's been the hypothetical for a while now, really since we opened this thing up to 4 of, all right, well, what if the day comes when Ohio State wins a national title, but they lost to Michigan? And we almost got it 2 years ago when Ohio State was playing in Atlanta. Had they, had Michigan taken care of business against TCU and Ohio State made that field goal against Georgia. But now we're in it. It's a reality every year where one of those teams can lose that game and still win a national title. I think what you're seeing right now is two sets of people. You've got the people who, and it's not age, it's just how you were raised and how you view things. If the rivalry, if culture, if the sport of college football and the history and the culture and why we love it is still the reason why you care about college football, then yeah, the Michigan game is all that matters to you. But if you are a person who is willing to adapt with the times and understand that this is more like the NFL than it is what college football was even 5 years ago now, then you are in a place of, okay, let's put hierarchy on things here. Ohio State's goal is beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, win a national title. You used to have to do those things in that order for them to happen. Now all three of those things can happen exclusively. Oregon won the Big Ten, but they're sitting at home right now. Right? Ohio State lost to Michigan. Michigan's sitting at home right now. And so it just depends on what style of bucket you want to go for. But also, let's see where people are at 11:30 on Monday night if Ohio State wins this game. Are you going to sit there and pout and go, no, you lost to Michigan, we can't celebrate this? Or are you going to be happy? I think most people are just going to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the pettiness between these two teams, Michigan, Ohio State, their fan bases. And you see the comments, oh, they still can't beat Michigan. If I'm an Ohio State fan, I say, hey, even when we lose, we win. If we win on Monday night, and you could have been the spark that led to a national championship. So if you're Michigan, be careful what you do. You beat this team and you woke up the beast and you beat Tennessee at home. You beat Oregon. You're up 34-0 at halftime. You just boat raced the Ducks. And then this is what I'll ask you about first, too, just as far as the games go. You go down to Texas against a Texas team, tons of NFL talent. Their secondary, tons of talent. You see him bracketing Jeremiah Smith, rolling coverage to his side. But you still beat Texas in Texas, where Jeremiah Smith had one catch for 3 yards. You punted like 6 or 7 times. Will Howard had a turnover to start the second half. You got to feel pretty good about the fact that you beat that team and you're going against a Notre Dame team that's, and you're getting your opinion on this, are they considerably less talented than that Texas team?
Probably. I think they might be better coached than the Texas team, but Texas has the better talent. I think Marcus Freeman has built up something special there and has essentially looked at Brian Kelly and said, you're an idiot for not thinking you can win here. I think the problem with Notre Dame is, and we'll see if they actually do it or not, the reason they got to the national championship, Ohio State will feast on that reason. So I just think a bad schematic football matchup for Notre Dame because they want to play a lot of man. And there is a reason no one has played man consistently against Ohio State's wide receivers for 6 years. Go look at the NFL, and it's showing you the reason why you don't play man. And so is Notre Dame going to abandon the reason they're playing in a national title and try to adapt something they haven't really done all year? Or are they going to try to change some things out and try to sell out and taking away Jeremiah Smith once again?
Yeah, and would you say that's kind of one of the $1 million questions right now heading to this matchup is you got a Notre Dame team that has had a lot of success this season playing a physical man coverage and getting it done that way. You got an Ohio State team that has elite receivers, Jeremiah Smith, Ibuka, you got Tate. I mean, you got elite playmakers and a Will Howard who is one of the best in the nation completion rate wise against man coverage. Is it too short of a time span to say, you know what? No, we're going to look at the film that what Michigan did. We're going to look at the film what Texas did and just change our coverage in a span of 10 days. Or it's, oh, you know what? We're going to just go with what worked for us. Because, I mean, is that the $1 million question as far as the defensive matchup goes?
Yeah, it is. Because if this were the BCS era and you had 30 days, then the logical thing is, you should change your defense. You shouldn't run man. Even if this were the 14 college football playoff and this were a semifinal, you'd still have 20 days to install something. To ask a team who has done one thing for literally 12 months, going back to when spring practice, back to when you started winter workouts, this is what you have been installing. And now for the final game of the year, when you've had 10 days to prepare, hey, let's install something completely brand new. I don't know if that's a reasonable thing to ask. But also, I have respect for Al Gordon as a defensive coordinator. I have respect for Marcus Freeman as a head coach. I'm not going to say it's impossible. I'm just saying sometimes at some point you just got to win with what your best guns are and just take your best shot. And I think that's what Notre Dame might try to do on Monday night.
So hypothetically, they do try to neutralize Jeremiah Smith. Is it the same game plan as, okay, let's get everyone else involved. Let's get Ibuka and Tate. Or is it the problem that happened against Michigan where they bait them into the run with Henderson and with Judkins and they're trying to out tough a team, and then all of a sudden you kind of ugly up the game. I think that's what Notre Dame might want to do, right?
Yeah, should more teams have done the Michigan plan? Yes, but you're not wearing maize and blue with wing helmets. So the coaching staff doesn't have a mental block against you. That's the thing about the Michigan plan that's being overlooked is Ohio State has to help you if you're going to do that plan. Yes, Michigan kept 2 high safeties. They had a light box and dared Ohio State to run. That doesn't mean Ohio State had to run the ball. We've watched Jeremiah Smith. I watched Jeremiah Smith catch a ball this year with one hand while a DB was trying to rip his face off. Okay? I saw that live. I've seen Emeka Ibuka make some catches that, quite frankly, I only see NFL receivers making $15 million a year make. I've seen Carnell Tate be more open than any wide receiver I've ever seen. And I covered Marvin Harrison Jr. and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Ryan Day and Chip Kelly helped Michigan accomplish that plan. It was as much about what they were and weren't doing as much as it was about Michigan having a good defensive plan and 2 good defensive tackles. I don't think Ohio State approaches it this way. I'm not saying you force feed it to Jeremiah because they didn't do it last game and they still got them a 14-point win. But Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, they're smart enough to figure out a way around this that isn't we have to prove we're tougher by running the ball.
Yeah, and I think you looked at that Oregon game. They come out, you get G. Scott wide open. You get Jeremiah Smith. He runs in the end zone on a really creative design right there. What's kind of the move for Chip Kelly if you come out there and you see, they are trying to run what Michigan did. They are trying to go with that. What's the way to avoid what happened? Is it just being aggressive and putting the ball in the air?
Yeah, yes and no. I think it starts with just playing clean. They had 9 penalties for 75 yards against Texas, and that's part of the reason they only scored 21 points on offense. But part of it is, Carnell Tate had 7 catches for 87 yards. He should have had a touchdown catch, and he dropped it.
Yep.
Okay, you're going to take away the generational receiver? Well, we've got another first rounder on the other side we can throw the ball to. Okay, you want to take him away? Number 2 is a first rounder. We'll give him the ball. It's getting Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins involved in the passing game as well. It doesn't just have to be, listen, I am a component of throw the dang ball. That doesn't mean forfeit. That doesn't mean Josh Heupel with Hendon Hooker. It means be creative, get your athletes in space, and let's just see what happens. And what we saw against Texas was Travion Henderson taking a screen pass 75 yards down the field. So that's what it looks like, being creative, but also pushing the ball down the field.
Yeah, and from Notre Dame's side, look, full disclosure, my mom's a Buckeye. I'm a UCLA guy, but I was at that 2003 Miami-Ohio State game in Arizona. And I remember my mom's like, yeah, we're just going to go. It'll be fun. We'll get blown out. It'll be cool. It's a national championship game. And all of a sudden, they're in that game. And that defense was playing so well. A lot went on there. Of course, it was the call at the end. But I believe Miami was like a 13-point favorite in that one. Notre Dame is a 8.5-point underdog in this one. It's college football. Things happen. It's a one-game national championship. What has to happen for Notre Dame to pull off one of the biggest upsets in national championship history?
Well, they lead the country in turnovers for us at 32. I think they're going to have to turn Ohio State over a little bit and steal some possessions. I think they're going to have to do some creative stuff on special teams, which we've seen Marcus Freeman do all year already. And I think they're going to have to run the ball and establish the run and control the game. They're going to have to control the clock. There's 60 minutes in a game. 40 minutes of that, it should be a bare minimum Notre Dame's on the field, because what you have to do is you got to mitigate the fact that eventually Ohio State's going to hit you with a haymaker. That's what happened against Texas. Had a great game plan. Why were they down 14-7 at halftime? Because Travion Henderson took a 75-yard screen. You can't plan for that. So put yourself in a position to be there. It's 14-14. Ohio State has to drive a long drive for a touchdown. It's 21-14. Texas, you're on the goal line. Texas did everything right, and then Jack Sawyer just made a play. You have to find ways to mitigate the fact that the NFL players in scarlet and gray are eventually going to make a play, and you do that by giving your offense as many opportunities to figure it out as possible. That means running with Riley Leonard the way you have all year. It means Jeremiah Love might have to break one at some point, but your defense has to give your offense opportunities by turning over Will Howard.
Yeah, and you've seen this defense. I mean, outside of Oregon, no team has scored more than 17 points a game against this unit. Caleb Downs, an absolute beast, might be the best defensive player in the country already as a sophomore, I believe. And then they stopped the run. You got JT Tuimoloau out. You got Jack Sawyer right there causing pressure. It feels like to me it's just the talent gap, especially after watching that Texas game. I don't know if you see the T-shirt they're selling, draft picks versus Catholics T-shirt. It just feels like the talent level for Ohio State is at a level where it's go out there, take care of business, and we could be looking at an Ohio State coronation. Or are you thinking, I know you're so into this and you're objective. Is there ways you kind of think, okay, let's talk ourselves into how this could be a game? Or is it, okay, Ohio State, go out there, take care of business, and you'll be hoisting that trophy?
Yeah, I picked 38-7 as my score.
38-7?
Yeah.
That's Florida Ohio State level beating 2007 it was, I believe.
It is. Yeah. It's because of that talent gap. And it's because, again, Notre Dame's style just happens to require Ohio State to do what it wants to do anyway. And so I find it hard for them to be able to stop that while also putting points on the board. But if I had to envision what that would look like, it's them creating turnovers. It's back in 2021, if you remember that Ohio State-Minnesota game where it's like, man, there's a talent gap. Why is this game so close? And the coaching staff at Minnesota had said before the game, the plan was to make Ohio State's coaches coach. And that's not saying that Ryan Day and his coaching staff is not a great coaching staff. They're a great coaching staff. They also, more often than not, have more NFL players than the team on the other side. So make them have to coach. Make them have to play a 4-quarter game and not just rely on eventually the depth of talent is going to win the game for you. That's what Notre Dame has to do. They have to get to the 4th quarter, and this is a 1-score game. Because then that's when you can take a shot. It's almost Ali versus George Foreman. Go 12. And then in those last 30 seconds, that's when you make your mark. If you let Ohio State get a hold of you in the 1st quarter and knock you down, they're going to be knocking you down for the rest of the game. Get 12 rounds. Get to the 4th quarter and then try to take your best shot.
Yeah, because the Oregon game, it was supposed to be a heavyweight title fight, and it was a first-round knockout. And all these previews I've watched, all these things I've read, it's like, it's not how can Notre Dame win, it's how can Notre Dame not get blown out. And I think when you're in that mode, you got to feel free about what you are. But I want to ask you, though, offensively, if you had to pick one player that's an X factor for Ohio State's offense, who would that be?
Yeah, it's Emeka Egbuka. He is a first-round draft pick who never gets talked about it that way because he keeps playing with generational X receivers, right? He was the Robin to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s Batman for 2 years, and now he's the Robin to Jeremiah Smith's Batman. And he's just been consistent, especially against this team. Notre Dame did a good job against Marvin Harrison Jr. in 2022, and Jackson Smith-Njigba got knocked out of that game early with a hamstring injury. Emeka Egbuka ends the game with 9 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. In 2023, Notre Dame did a good job taking away Marvin Harrison Jr. because they sold out on him. Well, Emeka Egbuka has 7 catches for 96 yards because he is the reason why this receiver room is so good, because it's not, oh, we have a Jeremiah Smith. It's, oh, wait, we took away that guy, and now we got to deal with this guy, and now we got to deal with that guy. It's the wealth of depth coming up again. So if Jeremiah Smith, if the plan is to take JJ away again, the way Texas did, I think we might see Emeka Egbuka for the 3rd straight year in a row have a big game because of that. He's 3 catches and like 74 yards away from being Ohio State's all-time leading receiver in catches and receiving yards. That doesn't happen unless you're a pretty elite receiver, and also do a good job of reminding defenses why you can't double the number 1 option.
Yeah, Ibuka's prolific, man. Another first round, maybe high second round talent. I mean, Ohio State's dripping with talent. How about on the defensive side of the football?
I think it's Sonny Styles, the second linebacker there. I think Riley Leonard's going to run a lot, and I think Ohio State's going to use Cody Simon to spy him a lot. And if you notice, Texas's 2 scoring drives came when they started attacking Sonny Styles in coverage, one of them on the wheel route. He's transitioned from safety to linebacker. He's had some good moments. I think he's good at stopping the run. His run fits are great. I think his pursuit is great, but in coverage, it's still a work in progress for a guy who is a year younger than his eligibility suggests because he reclassified. And so if you're looking for who can Notre Dame attack, it's Sonny Styles with Jeremiah Love in coverage and another running back. And so, hey, it's Sonny Styles up to the challenge for a day when he got targeted 8 times against Texas. Is he ready to get targeted 8 more times against Notre Dame? Because that's how Notre Dame scores, attacking Ohio State's linebackers in coverage and controlling the time of possession.
His defense loaded. I mean, that's what you love about this team too. I mean, offensively they can be explosive, but it was Jack Sawyer's play that really put him over the top and really won that game against Texas. Now, I want to ask about Ryan Day, because I don't think that people that don't have any idea about how Ohio State operates, it might be one of the biggest pressure cookers in all of professional, even college sports, any coaching job. The pressure on the head coach of Ohio State, from Woody Hayes to Earl Bruce, John Cooper, Tress. I think Luke Fickell was a coach there at one point too, and then Urban Meyer. You're expected to win every game. You're expected to always be Michigan. You're expected to compete for national championships. A lot of people were saying he was John Cooper Day, comparing him to John Cooper, who lost to Michigan throughout the 90s, but put together a lot of teams. Last time I checked, though, Cooper didn't win a national championship. What does a national championship do for Ryan Day's relationship with the fans, considering that he'll have this title, but still will have not beaten Michigan yet?
Yeah, he's been using this theme, leave no doubt, all year. And it's been interesting. It's been born out of the idea of his entire tenure has been building doubt, right? It's you can't beat Michigan. You can't win the big games. You got all these 5 stars, but they're not developing. You've had some of the best quarterbacks in program history and some of the best receivers in program history, and you're wasting them. I mean, C.J. Stroud, Paris Johnson, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, all these guys have never beaten Michigan. A lot of those guys have never even won a Big Ten championship before, let alone play. They haven't even played in the Big Ten championship game before. That's a lot. And so you build nothing but doubt. And obviously that was at an all-time high about 60 days ago on November 30th after they lose that game. He still has to solve that problem. But this can go a long way in validating the fact that there's only 2 active head coaches right now who have won a national title, and those are the only 2 head coaches who have also coached in multiple national titles. Ryan Day's already joining that list with Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney, a head coach who was active and coached in multiple national titles. He can join them in winning a national title as well. It's validating his program. It's not going to remove all the doubt, but you can start the process of removing all of that doubt, because yes, you got to beat Michigan. But the ultimate goal and the most difficult thing about their job is winning a national title. You can't doubt a man who is one of 3 active coaches to achieve that very goal.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to how important this rivalry is to both fan bases. But on the same token, it's like, we've been in the same amount of national championship games as you've beaten us since like 2001. I mean, the run that they went on was so dominating for so long. You've seen that rivalry go back and forth. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be, hopefully, if you're Ohio State, a big blow. Like you're saying, Notre Dame, they're going to try to scratch and claw to stay in this one. Last question I have for you, though. Better helmets, though. Notre Dame or Ohio State? Because those gold domes are iconic, but the Buckeye leaves with the stripe, I don't know. They're two top Mount Rushmore helmets, though. Let's be honest.
So I like Notre Dame's helmet, especially now that I've been to South Bend in 2023 and see why it's that color and seeing the building it's modeled after. I think that's pretty cool. But it's something about having something that tells a story. And the Ohio State helmet is a blank canvas every year. And it literally grows organically throughout the year. And you see it. You see a guy's process and progress through an entire season from going to, I haven't done anything. You can literally see on my helmet, I've done nothing, to now on Monday, this is all I've done. This is what this season got. And it's different. They're not unified. There's going to be some guys where their entire helmet is filled up with leaves. There's going to be guys where only half. There's going to be guys where it's a half and a quarter. It's going to be all over. There's going to be guys who might only have 5 Buckeye leaves on their helmet. But I think that's cool because it makes the helmet unique to that person because it tells a story. And I know they're not the only team who has helmet stickers. A lot of other teams do, but they also have logos on their helmets that get in the way. It's literally just scarlet stripe, gray shiny helmet. Can you fill it up with green Buckeye leaves? How it looks on the final game of the season is completely up to you.
Man, all I got to say is I better not see 1 inch of silver on Jack Sawyer's helmet. That better be all Buckeye leaves, every single inch, because he certainly has earned it. But you got 38-7, Buckeyes winning big. The Ohio State Buckeyes hopefully winning their 9th national championship. Well, Mr. Stephen Means, we really appreciate joining us here on The Big Lead. Of course, he's the host of Buckeye Talk, the #1 Ohio State Buckeyes podcast. Also is their top beat writer for Cleveland.com. Stephen Means, thank you so much for joining us here on The Big Lead, my man.
Anytime, guys.
I take it easy, man. All right, Steven, thank you so much. We're going to